Welcome to the P00LHOUSE Podcast. P00LHOUSE.
Hello and welcome to the P00LHOUSE Podcast. I am your host Jake and I'm here with my co-host Andy. How you doing today, Andy?
I'm good, mate. Yeah, I think I'm pretty good. We're sort of towards the end of January and the sun is actually shining, so it kind of feels like we're out of the Christmas sort of mud that I think I was in anyway. Looking forward to the rest of the year, really. How about you?
I was about to say the same thing. The sun is shining and there feels like a bit of hope is in the air today. However, it may just be a red herring as we are entering February, which tends to get worse before it gets better.
Yeah.
But no, it does feel better today with the sun out. What have you been working on this week?
So this week is just trying to round off that third track so that I can send 3 tracks at once to be mastered. So I finished a couple over Christmas and then started this one because I was like, if I've got 2, I might as well try and do the third to make the mastering that little bit cheaper. So just finishing that off, really. Been trying to listen to it in a lot of different places this week. So I sort of get a track to a certain point, which is actually maybe an interesting point, is tracks are sounding more finished earlier on now for me. But now what I'm struggling with is the actual track itself. So before I would like make the track and it would sort of go to mix it. But the tracks now sound good earlier on. I'm spending more time being like, is the journey of this song right? So it's kind of flipped the way that I've done things. And I don't know if that's just because I've, over the course of, I don't know, the past year, built up enough decent samples and blah, blah, blah. So it's, you know what I mean? It sounds good quicker. So that's not really like a stumbling block anymore. I guess, yeah, a slightly different journey for me.
Well, I think for you, that sounds like you're just getting better. You're improving on each release and each production. It sounds like you're getting better and refining your method and your process. You know, sometimes I have trouble with that. I get the initial idea somewhere where I like how it feels, it excites me, but I often end up having to go back to the original sounds and change them towards the end to get it over the line. And I need to stop doing that because you kind of end up doing it twice, which is kind of the stage I'm in at the moment with my next song. It's like the song is there, but sonically I'm not 100% happy with everything. So I'm having to replace a few things. And then obviously as you replace some things, it then feels a little different and you can get yourself in a bit of a difficult situation, which you can't quite work out what you're actually trying to do anymore.
Yeah, no, that's kind of why this threw me a little bit, because it's like, it's normally a load of creating, then mixing. But I sort of did it all pretty quickly and then it sounded good. And then I was like, but it's not right. Like normally I do the harder stuff than mix, whereas this time it's like, it's almost mixed itself and I'm left with the hard decisions of, is this section too long? Does this feel right? So, music, innit?
The journey's different every time, to be honest, isn't it?
You say you're working on your next song. Is that what you've been doing this week or past couple of weeks?
The past couple of weeks have been a bit odd. I just feel like time's getting away from me and I just feel like the day ends and I'm not really happy with where I've got to. Just in general, I've been trying to figure out why that is. I think partly it's because I haven't just been doing creative stuff. So I've been doing stuff for my website, trying to improve that, generally trying to work on my whole business model. When I'm doing that, when I get to the end of the day, it doesn't feel like I've achieved much, because normally when you're doing something creative, which is why creatives gravitate towards it, you have something to show for the end of the day. What I find when I'm doing that kind of stuff is you don't really have much to show for the end of the day. So it leaves me a bit uneasy, but it is stuff that needs to be done. I feel like I haven't been that productive musically, but I kind of need to do it anyway because it's stuff that needs doing.
Yeah. No, yeah, and I know exactly what you mean by tasks like that. That's almost thankless tasks, really.
Yeah.
But yeah, they need to be done. Have you made any sort of decisions regarding that side? Sort of like the studio and bits and pieces, like the business model. Are you changing it up? Have you noticed different things or different avenues that you want to explore?
I think I want to refine my niche or niche, as the rest of the world seems to say. Yeah, I just want to sort of refine what genres I'm working in and limit it to really the genres that I enjoy the most, so I can be the best version of that producer. And then therefore the artist will get the best out of it as well. Mm-hmm. I have been guilty of doing everything under the sun since I started, which, I do enjoy doing like heavy music at times because I find it quite easy, but I also enjoy making things sound big. And then I also enjoy doing like folky stuff as well. But I think I need to just narrow down what am I specialist in. Yeah, so that's taken a bit of thinking and sort of looking back at what I've done. Yeah, because I think everyone will get the best out of me. When you're doing pop, for example, or if you're doing indie pop, alt pop, whatever it is, any of those brackets, it's still a very varied thing. But it's just closing myself off a little bit from being like, if we're not a good fit together, you probably find someone better for you anyway. So
yeah, no, that sounds quite freeing in a way.
Yeah. But yeah, it should mean that also then should be able to give more value to those people through this podcast, or giving away a few tips and tricks as well and that sort of stuff. But so that's where my head's been at. But I also feel like, time's just got away from me a bit. It needs to be done, because doing everything and anything isn't really the best way to go about things.
Have you got a plan for how you're going to promote that side of your business in the coming year?
Well, it just means if I'm giving out free content, I'm going to be doing more breakdowns and things like that. It just means that it will be aimed at a particular audience, which will then hopefully be clients of mine. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and there's paid advertising to take advantage of as well. The advantage of doing that as well is you're narrowing your targeting. You're basically making it cheaper because, to be able to market to anyone and everyone is the most expensive thing you can do, and only a few brands in the world need to do that. Yeah, it does make sense in a lot of ways. I've only ever had word of mouth anyway. I think COVID has really stifled that a bit, because some of my last projects were a little while ago. Almost the momentum has stopped a bit on that. So I think I'm going to have to think about actually marketing myself for once, which again isn't a bad thing. And I know how to do it for other people. I just never really looked at myself, and it's harder to analyze yourself and work out what your strengths and weaknesses are.
Totally. Yeah. Well, all sounds promising, bud.
Yeah. It is. It's a bit daunting because it's not a quick fix for stuff like that. To get it how you want it to run and all that stuff is a lot of work, and almost you have to take a couple of months out, which is difficult when, I'm having a bit of a quiet period anyway. But in order to fix it, you've got to sit down and fix it without expecting immediate reward.
Yeah. I need to do that as well. Once I've got this third track finished and everything's off to master, I think it's going to be 4 to 6 weeks of sort of the breakdowns and the content and the marketing myself side of it that I definitely massively struggle with. But I've sort of drawn a line in like, right, finish this one. That's 3 songs that go to master. That's sort of like a nice line in the sand. And then just, I don't need to start anything else because I would have releases planned until at least June, so half a year.
You've got no excuse then.
No excuse, and I have got the time. So, but yeah, so like you say, I think that's how a lot of people who release a lot of content don't do it on the fly. They do it in batches.
You've got to. It's too hard to just keep switching all the time. Music takes a lot of mental perseverance to get it to the end. So every time you pull yourself out of that way of thinking, it's hard to get back to it. So you're doing the right thing something I haven't managed to do yet. You know, I've done it in terms of each song, and then I'll have like a good period of creating the content. But I'd like to do what you're doing, sort of, you know, nail a batch and then roll it out. I mean, it's the reason that people still do albums, really. People say, where's the advantage of doing an album? But what it does is it allows for a break from being creative in that way and then doing all the content in one go and just rolling it out over a longer period of time.
It gives you time to tour and things like that. That's why people do albums, then they've got time to tour, because they can't, or you can do both at the same time now, but obviously if you release an album and tour it, gives you time.
Touring, of course, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. But even just, we don't have any support, right? So we're making it all on our own. So really, the people that do batches of whether it's an EP or album, you're then going to have to do, you know, whether it's a collection of visuals, your artworks, remixes, your acoustic versions. You know, it's a lot easier just to compartmentalize into that. I'm going to do all of those within this time period. And it's also easier because the hardest bit is writing original material. After that, it's utilizing that and just creating ways to, you know, show it, basically.
Yeah. It's an organizational thing, isn't it? It's planning, really, as well.
Yeah.
Because I've said to myself now that this is what I'm going to do. I'm kind of like, for the past 2 or 3 weeks, almost preparing myself that it's going to happen, if you know what I mean. Because going back to, I think, something you said previously as well, the guilt of not doing, because I've sort of prepared myself over the last few weeks that if I sit down and I'm just doing content and I have to do it a few times or it doesn't work, I'm not then feeling guilty that, I haven't got a song for next month or blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, exactly. That part is just taken care of.
And so going into it, I'm like, I don't need to write a song. I don't need to do that. And I'm prepared myself for that. So that sort of musical guilt shouldn't be there. So I guess, I think that's definitely a valuable approach to get the best out of yourself, at least.
Something I want to talk about today is our name, Pool House, where we got it from and what that means to me and Andy. And I'll start by saying that the name comes from where we spent many years of our life working on a little album by Andy's band called Natives, which is still yet to see the light of day. However, it was really where our relationship, you know, working together and a production duo, whatever you want to call it, is really where that sort of came to fruition. Because after having worked with Andy and Natives for a little while, where it was more of a traditional band producer relationship, when we started working on that album, when Andy had literally just got his first laptop.
Makes you sound like I'm a proper technophobe. Andy just got a Nokia 3310.
Well, it pretty much was like that, mate.
Yeah, no, fair enough.
Yeah, and Andy was very new to it all, basically, weren't you? I mean, this is a lot of years ago. You know.
Yeah.
You know, we're talking, well, too many years to mention.
Yeah, I mean, and just for visuals, there is actually a swimming pool in Pool House. So there is water, there is H2O in this place. And the laptop I had is the laptop that I brought off Duncan Housley. Must have been 2010, maybe. And I think it was probably 5 years old when I brought it. But yeah, that laptop and that purchase sort of changed the direction of my musical career without sounding too grandiose. So yeah, that obviously opened up a whole world of things. And then heading into the Pool House with yourself and the guys, it was just a very free time. Luckily, a lot of time for experimentation and trial and error. And I guess that's why that time means so much to me, and why the name Pool House sort of resonates so well, and sort of why it was kind of settled before we even settled on it, really, the name. Yeah,
I mean, I think we both always wanted a name that doesn't really come with much connotations behind it. So you can kind of make it what it will be. It's like we can make it what it will be, or like the people that come along for the ride will make it what it will be, whether it's doing clothes, whether it's making samples, you know, doing production together. We just wanted a name that was free for us to do whatever we creatively feel like. And that period of time was that in our musical career. It was really a time where we weren't making any music for anyone else. It was maybe for the first time just making music to appease to our taste in music at the time. And, you know, that was a bit of a risk for you guys at the time because you'd grown up in a scene that was, you know, quite strong, and you'd done very well and had success up to that point. But I think you were all ready just to not be a band in a room. You know, you were ready to be more than that. So it's funny because now that is very much the norm. But at the time, it was...
Yeah, good point.
It was... I mean, it wasn't groundbreaking. There were definitely other people doing it, but...
No, Jake, thank you. Yeah, it was groundbreaking what we were doing.
But what it was very freeing, you know. Yeah, I just want to... I mean, I have questions that I've never asked you about that time period. Like, when you first got Logic, what was it like for you?
Oh, wow.
Did you know anything?
No. Knew absolutely nothing. It was just a case of clicking on things and seeing what they did and what they didn't do and just going from there. I mean, I suppose at the very basic level, I think I understood what MIDI was. So that's kind of the first thing I delved into, was just writing notes, working out how to load up a piano, and then learning how to write notes into MIDI. And obviously I'm familiar with what a piano looks like and I understand which notes are which. So I guess I had a bit of a head start there. But I think what it was for me and why it changed things so dramatically was because for a long period of time, I'd just been used to drums, guitars, bass and singing, which is fine, but they have their limitations and they have their own... They sound as they sound, don't they? Like a guitar sounds like a guitar, a bass sounds like a bass. But then what you were able to do, and I know this is a massive, like, obviously, but like what you're able to do with the MIDI was to take those parts and put them on different instruments that you didn't even own or never heard of before. And then you started creating sounds and feelings and worlds that would never even come into your mind before. So it was quite literally felt like opening Pandora's box almost, and everything just like, you know, in the movies when they open a briefcase and this light shines in their face, that sort of genuinely that sort of feeling, which is why I think then we sort of aggressively started going towards, well, like, how far can we push this within the realms of like our band and our genre to a certain extent. So we just went, really, just kept going, and it was slow. Like it was a lot of hours to get anything that even resembled a song out of Logic. Like days, probably weeks, to be honest with you. And then you started to try and translate those into like the band environment, and yeah, boys all got involved and we were doing different bits here and there, some at Jack's, some at mine. And yeah, we just sort of evolved into these sort of, I guess, bedroom band producers that, like you say, at the time we were just used to writing and creating in rehearsal spaces. So at this point we were able to record it and push the boundaries. So it was, I'd never change it. And and it's not like we hate real instruments. We love real instruments. There's loads of real instruments on the album. Like we tried really hard to keep as many real instruments on the album as possible. So it's not like we're going away from that, but it's just there was an element of opportunity that it presented that we couldn't not take, just as inquisitive and creative people, really.
So what made you want to get a laptop with Logic on? Why did that happen?
Do you know what? I don't know. It might have been because Jack had it. He had a laptop and Logic before me, I'm pretty sure. And so we were writing on his, and then I was like, if I get one as well, then we can bounce ideas back and forth from each other. So I think it was that. So
it was originally to lay down demos of things. It was like like demos in terms of just the band. And then when you got it, you realised, oh, this can open up a new world. Is that sort of...
Yeah, I think so. I think we were doing sort of band demos, and then we would mess around with like the software synths and bits and pieces like that. I wanted to get it because I wanted to be able to help out in that sort of environment, and then it was just from there, it's just the amount of time I spent on it, really. Just kept growing and growing, really.
Were you getting influenced by things like synth and like other instruments that you were hearing? Were there bands that you were hearing, or what was it at the time?
I think it was the capability of the program, really. I'm not sure where the sort of the world influence came from, but I think for some reason, I don't know why, we just gravitated towards those sort of marimbas and those sort of percussion-y sounds, and I found that I was quite good at making sort of loops, I guess is the best way to talk about them. I mean, in 2022, we might call them beats, but I think I'll call them loops. So as being a drummer as well, it was just, but when you play an instrument with a lot of muscle memory, really. So when you had the computer, you were able to interpret what you wanted to do from your head, but then you'd be able to move it about so it didn't sound like you, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So that was another thing that I jumped on quite a lot.
And you mentioned about translating stuff from guitar to MIDI. Is that the way you worked with the program first? Like it was literally like pick out guitar notes and then just put it in MIDI sort of thing?
Yeah, so the first thing I would be doing, I'd be writing power chords on piano.
Yeah.
Like essentially that'd be it.
Yeah.
But even doing that in that sort of real basic thing, it just sounded amazing in a way. I don't think a power chord is even major or minor. Like it's just three notes, like whatever it is. But even when you
it's kind of two notes.
Well, yeah, an octave and a third or whatever it is, a fifth, sorry.
Yeah.
But even in that very early stage, just translating that onto piano, and then all you had to do then was just change the piano to something else, and it was something different. Yeah, it was. It's almost like you found a new music in a way.
Yeah, it's a whole different way of writing music. It's very hard to go back as well, you know, and there are pluses and minuses, because there were times where we had to take it out of Logic and just be like, this song isn't working, let's just play it on the guitar chords and melody. Which is, you know, that's what everyone does when something isn't working. There's normally a very simple reason of stripping it back. And then normally we'd then find the new chord by playing it and be like, actually, what happens if you went to this chord? And then it opened up a whole new ray of light, like you described.
Yeah, I mean, and it definitely, I think me finding Logic and producing on it definitely didn't make it easy for yourself, because obviously so new to it. I mean, for me, louder was better, more was better. I mean, thinking back to it, I'm like, oh God.
Well, I think the relationship then was, I was very much producing what your vision was. So I was enhancing what you were trying to create and just elevating all the sounds to be release ready or whatever. I mean, it was very challenging. It's one of the most incredible times of my life, you know, good and bad. And I will never, ever forget it. So that brings us full circle to why the name Pool House means so much.
Massively.
You know, it's kind of a weird place to make music as well. You know, I do actually have a studio, but it became secondary.
Yeah, madness.
Yeah, it's a bit of a special time. I mean, there's so many different emotions tied to it.
We'll have to get the other boys on an episode and just deep delve into that period of time with some stories or something, because it would be unbelievable.
Absolutely. I'm trying to refrain a little bit and not go too much into it, because there's plenty of time and different episodes for that, and I wouldn't want to sum up that whole time period in such a short amount of time. But yeah, I'll say what that did though is define an era of our songwriting, I guess. I should mention that I was also there through the whole writing process. It was a very equal process in that sense. But then what's interesting is as the album went on and we had fewer songs, we were working slightly differently. At the beginning, it was very much, you have this sketch, it is a vibe, here you go, can you make this better? By the end, it was more like we were more on a level in terms of how do we both get this over the line.
I suppose that is kind of, in my mind, that just sort of just conjured up the image of like from the start to the end, we sort of entered at different times in terms of our, I don't know what you call it. Like, I just got Logic, you knew how to do it all, blah, blah, blah. But at the end, we sort of left together.
Yeah, for sure.
And which is sort of brings us to sort of where we are now, really, with Pool House.
Yeah, and it's interesting because now when I'm working on my own stuff, it's not quite the other way around, because I'd say your strengths still lie in ideas and mine are stronger in refining ideas. So that's often why I struggle to get an idea over the line personally, but I find it easier to listen to someone else's music and be like, this can be better if you just did this. Whereas you're best at just being like, here's a palette, can you make the palette broader? Or, you know, that's where the difference between us is. And hopefully that's why we work well together.
Definitely.
Going forward, we haven't done many production things together. We've done a couple, actually, which were nestled in that time, if you remember. They were more bandy, and it was more like you were just on the ride. We did the Arcadians and we did Vince. We did those.
Yeah.
But we also did some pop sessions during that time.
Yeah, we did.
And came up with some really cool stuff. But, I mean, naturally, it's kind of changed because you were coming up and staying more. You know, our lives have changed a bit since then, and, you know, we're talking more, but we're not, or should I say talking just as much, but yeah, not actually being in the same room as much. And that's one thing I would like to change this year. I would like to get back in a room together because I do miss that sort of human interaction. Of course, you can do many things remotely, and that has come on leaps and bounds since.
I still don't think it replaces in the room.
It doesn't. It definitely doesn't, because there's something, it's an energy you can't feel across a Zoom call.
Doesn't work.
It's not quite there. Meetings
on video call I don't think work either, because it's just, you need to be in the same room. You need to get all on the same wavelength. And I think, it's quite literal as well, like wavelength. Like, you need to be in tune with each other. So 100% we need to get in the room more. I'd like to get in the room with other people as well.
Yeah,
like,
for sure.
Really just open the doors to the pool house, really.
Yeah, absolutely. Just a quick break to let you know,
if you're looking for some free stems,
sample packs, production breakdowns, you can find some over at poolhouse.com. Now back to the episode. It's funny. The two things I'm going to talk about, which why Pool House means a lot to me, are two things that have not been released, but so they probably shouldn't mean so much. Another album I recorded was with Max Britton, formerly of Deaf Havana. I don't know how many years ago now, but yeah, it was I think it's one of the only other times I spent recording in the Pool House.
I didn't know we were sharing the Pool House at that time.
And yeah, that whole album was recorded. It's got like, there's a little saunery bit. Also, we did a lot of diary room entries, which is still see the light of day. I've got tons and tons of footage of us basically looking overweight and ill.
Ill is what I was going to say. Ill.
From just not sleeping enough and working so hard to get music made, basically. Anyway, I digress. But yeah, I made this album, which was kind of Bon Iver, Cabin in the Woods kind of inspired. And it was just another time period where I felt like I elevated as a producer and sort of worked out when an artist came to me and said, I want to do this, or I want to recreate something similar to this, or be inspired by this, how to actually do that and deliver that for an artist. That was around the time which I actually became confident in my ability to do that. So, I mean, it's an album I'm very proud of. I don't know if it'll ever see the light of day. It's not up to me.
Oh, surely.
It's not up to me.
No.
Yeah, that's not to put pressure on Max either. And I am also in a production duo with Max, and we work together on stuff. So that's kind of the link with the Pool House name anyway. It's sort of a time period that really defined a certain confidence into and growing as a musician, ideas man, mixer, producer, all the hats that you have to wear. That was sort of where I grew.
Where it was born.
It's where it was born.
Like it's like the home. It needs one of those blue plaques that they put outside, like people of importance's houses. Like,
yeah, that's a beautiful way to describe it. Is where it was born. I'm sure we'll get back to it at some point, but whether we ever do anything else in there ever again is hard to say.
I mean, just a little update actually at the end. I mean, how is it? I take it it's still there, Pool House, is it?
It is still there, but it's drastically changed.
Oh my God. It's like when you get to the end of a box set and there's only one episode left, you don't want to watch it because then it is over. I don't want to see that. How badly has it changed? Well, not badly. How much?
It's changed a lot, but there's still room to work down there. But
is the water still in it?
The water's still there. It needs some work, but it's still there. But yeah, the reason I say that is I'm about to put my masonette on the market. So I might be moving, and that will mean that I have a new studio. So it might mean...
Oh, here we go. This is hot off the press. Come on then. Fucking tell me about this. What's going on?
Well, yeah, we're basically about to put it on the market.
So if anyone wants to buy it...
So if anyone wants to buy it right now, hit me up. But yeah.
So have you found a place with a studio?
Not yet, but that's the plan.
But you will be moving your studio to your new premises?
Fingers crossed, that's the plan,
Wow. This is too much change. Let's just go back to the Pool House. Is the bar still there?
Yeah, it's still there. It just looks different. No hot tub.
Whoa, here we go. No hot tub.
Yeah.
What's in place of the hot tub?
Just gone.
Sauna?
Still there, I think.
the changing room / toilet area?
Yeah, that's still there, but it's changed. It's changed configuration.
Upgrade. Do you have to get keys for your lockers now and stuff? Is it upgrade?
Not quite, but yeah.
What about the gym?
Yeah, gym's gone.
Got what?
Yes. Been converted to a 1-bed flat.
Could have done that 7 years ago when we were kipping on the floor.
Yeah, I know.
Wow. So the Pool House has changed and the studio is moving. Well, that's the end of this podcast.
But
see you later.
But I think that will mean that the name means more going forward, to be honest, because you'll just remember that's where it's born.
That was beautiful, man. That was beautiful. Cut that out. That's the tagline.
Right, let's move on to Song of the Week or Tune of the Week. We need a jingle. Andy, we need a jingle.
I want for Tune of the Week jingle.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can probably whip something up.
I've actually got an idea. I'm not going to reveal it here on the podcast. We'll save it. Let's hope it's in there next time.
Okay.
What is your Tune of the Week?
Tune of the Week this week is You've Got to Let Go If You Want to Be Free, which is the new song by Disclosure and Zed.
Nice.
It came out literally today. Yeah, I had listened to it this morning. I love Disclosure. Not too familiar with Zed, but I just love some of the sounds in it. They just make such good songs that aren't overly humongous, but they're just vibey and just some of the sounds are I don't know, they're just so nice. Just listen to the track.
I haven't heard it yet, but definitely one of their strengths is just being you can literally count the sounds on your hand, and they know how to let a song breathe, which, that's something I still have to teach myself or learn. There's many different styles of production, but they know how to choose and pick and then know when to stop. They also know how to keep the song interesting throughout the track as well, which it's a real art. They've mastered that.
But yeah, the caliber of sounds is great. The track's great as well. So You've Got to Let Go If You Want to Be Free. Disclosure and Zed.
I'm going to pick a very different song to you this week. It's a song that lyrically just hits the nail on the head for me personally. Sometimes when I'm feeling a bit me and I'm not feeling like I belong, or I'm feeling a bit different, or whatever it is, it's a song called Social Cues by P00LHOUSE.
Easy for you to say.
And he is a character. Let me just put it that way. If anyone gets 10 minutes, please go watch his In the Cave with Kenny Beats. It's basically this YouTube series which Kenny Beats does, and it's just artists come in and they just have like a short amount of time to like make something. There's no end goal. It's just like, let's make something. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's funny, sometimes it's whatever. But the guy comes in, first of all, he has nails in his hair, which is mad.
Yeah, I've just got a picture up.
Yeah, and it's just so funny. And it's actually, what he comes out with is actually like weirdly amazing, but he's just out there. But yeah, I love the song, and it's kind of got like a punky feel to it, which always speaks to me. It's just a bit of a enigma, and yeah, I gravitate towards people like that, because it's almost like I wish I could be a bit more like that. So I see myself in that, but I don't have the same amount of confidence just to be like, F it, I'm going to do that.
Or enough nails.
Exactly. So this is Social Cues by P00LHOUSE. So Andy, you mentioned you got your next few releases sorted out. When's your next one coming out? I know you haven't announced it on the socials, but this is hot off the press.
Yeah, honestly, get in early, pre-save if you're a Pool House member. No, next one is next Friday, February the 4th. So yeah, that means I should probably do something. So I will. But yeah, it's called Germany, and it's out next Friday.
Where'd the name come from?
This is going to be really underwhelming.
Okay. It adds intrigue. You can leave it at that.
Shall I tell you on the next episode once the track's out?
Let's leave it at that. Yeah, perfect.
Okay. Yeah.
I have just finished my Play It Cool production breakdown, so I'll be posting that very soon, if I haven't already posted it by the time this is out. But please check that out over at poolhouse.com. Yeah, I guess, what are you up to this weekend, Andy?
What am I up to this weekend? Nothing planned, actually. It's a free weekend, so I'm sure it will get full up with different bits and pieces. So,
as always. Shall I tell you what I'm doing?
Yeah, go on then.
I'm going for a Christmas dinner.
You should have done a guessing game. Would never have guessed that.
No, basically, you know, around the time of Christmas, we were supposed to have like, I think it's like 22 people going for a Christmas meal. It isn't an actual Christmas dinner. They're not doing a Christmas dinner menu anymore. But, you know, it's
obviously
it's a big meet up with a few people. Some future guests will be there as well. So yeah, it should be a good night.
Crackers and party hats or not?
I don't know who's providing that, but we are doing Secret Santa.
Because, well, obviously, can you feed back next time? Because I want to know how Christmassy this meal is, or if it's just a meal.
I want to know as well, to be honest.
But Secret Santa does suggest it might be Christmassy, so...
Also, I mean, it's potentially quite busy then. It's my youngest nephew's birthday, and also my wife's birthday next week. So I better get myself sorted. To be quite honest with you.
Yes, mate. Yeah, I'd get down the garage now and get the flowers.
No, you don't want to get them too early, otherwise they'll die by the time you give it to them.
Yeah, okay. That's his thought process, Jesse, if you're listening.
She does actually listen, so yeah, maybe I have to cut
But you
out.
edit this, so you could just cut it out to you going, yeah, I'm just going to do all this fancy stuff. So much planned for her birthday next week. What day is her birthday?
It is Tuesday.
The 1st of February.
Correct. All right, well, let's leave it at that, and I'll let you go, mate. Good to chat, as always, and speak to you next week.
Stay good.
Thanks for listening.
If you like what you've heard today,
Please hit the follow or subscribe button to be notified about future episodes. You can massively help us out by leaving a review.
And sharing with your friends and family
is also a beautiful way to help us grow.
As always, we'd love to hear from you, so don't be a stranger.
We want to build a community and we want you to be a part of it. Until the next one, stay good.